Mac check 1001, 1002, 1003. I want to share a story about, trying to graduate as a PhD student. So when I was a PhD student, and by the time of graduation, I already published more than 20 papers in less than 4 years. And all those papers are well-respected, peer-reviewed journals in my field of study. Apart from that, I was also the guy who ran the whole lab, where we have state-of-art equipment and a lot of wet chemistry equipment. And at some point, the people even call me 7-Eleven, because every morning I would wake up at 7 a.m. and work until 11 p.m. into the nights. And sometimes even during the weekends, I still work in my lab. The only day I would take off is literally every Saturday and every Sunday morning to go to churches. And also, I was a guy who mentored many undergraduate students and taught many sessions in several graduate courses. And I was well respected in the department, and all the teachers, professors, they loved me. But in return, in front of my PhD advisor, uh, I was married, I had a kid, but I was also $30,000 in credit card debt because the school pays us so low. I have to pay for the rent, I have to pay for the car, and also the car was actually paid off by my parents. Lucky enough, but still, raising a kid, raising a kid, and she was in desperate need, of all the, supplements and all this that doctors with it. So end up, when I graduated, I had $30,000 in credit card debt, and back then for me, a treat for the week would equal a hot dog, from gas stations. Till today, my favorite food is a hot dog from the gas stations, humble foods, and also reminds me of my humble background, during my PhD. And also in front of my advisor, I was never given the equal opportunity in my career. My advisor never supported me in my job search, never gave me good recommendations, and at some point, bad recommendations. And also, when I was a PhD student, sometimes we were given the opportunities to go to international conferences. I was never given that opportunity. Worst of all, even with me doing all that work and carrying so much burden on my shoulder, my advisor tried to force me to stay as a PhD student. So he never wanted me to graduate. Even, he never considered giving me a postdoc position because he literally told me, postdoc get paid double, and I don't want to pay you double. I want you to stay as long as, the program is being funded by the national, Department of Energy back then. So that was my story. But end up I graduated. And my story back then was he gave me a lot of hurdle for me to graduate, but I was able to uh, build my leverages, work with my exact, thesis committee, and most importantly, have a solid evidence to help me to graduate. So the first thing you need to do when you encounter those type of toxic advisor who doesn't want you to graduate is you need to work with our committee members. In my case, I was well known in my department. All my thesis committee members, they all knew how hard I worked and what kind of person I am, and they helped me tremendously. So when I encountered the case of my advisor was being really toxic to me, and they basically came up with some ideas how I should proceed. Like your advisor has been hard to work with from the starting point, even for them as colleagues, it's really hard to work with this guy. So their recommendation is like, you need to switch advisor. So they gave me some really good recommendations. Although I'm, half year away from graduation, but they told me you need to find a new advisor and we will support you within the department. So work with your committee members, build relationships, and most importantly, really use them as your committee members. Share your thoughts, your concerns outside of your PhD thesis, but also, work with them. They will help you tremendously. And also, you need to build your external levers, whether it's your kids, your family, your job, build that urgency for you to graduate. I literally know someone, in this case, I never had some external levers I have built, but I know someone who graduated with zero papers. The department requires us to have a certain number of papers before you can graduate. And this person had zero. And for his or her justification, was I need to raise my family. It's a growing family. Whether you want or not, I need to graduate. And his or her thesis is basically a data dump, even though they let, this person graduated from the school as a PhD. Is that ridiculous? That is, but you need to build your external levers. In my case, I never had levers. I never mentioned about, I got kids, my family is struggling financially, my small family. And also, I never mentioned about I got a job, ahead of me. I need to take care of that. I never had those external levers. So my encouragement for you is you need to build those levers. And also, the last part, the most important part, you need to keep your evidences. The evidences of the email exchanges, text messages, which might be really toxic, you need to keep those evidences. They will help you. So in my case, my story, continue my story is, my thesis committee gave me the recommendation, you need to find new advisors. And I basically reached out to the dean of my department, and he later became my thesis advisor. And they basically supported me like, we know how hard you work and what accomplishment you have achieved. So our intention is your thesis is ready. It's a really high quality thesis. You're ready to defend, and we'll support you all the way. There were some, toxic email exchanges between my new advisor before my graduation, my old advisor, who is a really toxic person. They basically threatened, I'll not give you the fund, you'll be starving, this, that. So when I showed the evidence to the leadership of my school and even the principal, uh, of our schools, they basically supported me. They were like, don't worry about it. We'll get you graduated. It's a high quality paper, and we're really involved in the process when you wrote your PhD thesis. And actually, I have my PhD thesis written a long time. It's just this guy doesn't want me to graduate. They basically give me all the support I needed, financially as well. They basically told me, as long as you don't find a job, we'll make sure you get paid, in some way or format, and you don't have to do any work. That was the wild part. So basically, I defended my thesis towards the end. I graduated, but they still paid me all the way till I landed a job, where I started my career in the United States. So in summary, three things you need to do: keep a really good working relationship and with your thesis committee. And second part is you need to have some external levers, which really gonna help. And the last part is you need to keep your evidences. I hope you survive a toxic, PhD thesis of the weather. And most importantly, I don't want you to be in that position. So if you're in that position, try to use the tips I gave you, and I wish you the best of luck.